Welcome back, grade 11s. Now let's go straight into our applications question. We are still continuing with that scenario, even though I'm still going to read it again. Howard Spence, HS. Howard has developed his action plan and needs to implement the action plan. He decided to develop systems and processes in order to achieve his goals. He constantly monitored and evaluated business activities. He also ensured that costs are decreased and outputs increased. Now let's look at the first question. It says, explain factors that Howard should consider before starting his business. The culture of the organization. Howard must ensure that a code of conduct is in place and enforce it from the start. So Howard needs to make sure that there's culture of an organization. Everything that he needs his organization to follow to be done. He needs to make sure that there's a code of conduct of how employees are expected to behave in an organization, and make sure that the code of conduct is enforced at the start of a business. When he starts his business, the code of conduct is surely implemented. How can he do that? By making sure that he train the employees on the contents of the code of conduct, so that employees are able to know exactly what is expected of them in terms of their behavior in the workplace. Then another factor to consider before startup is customer service. Howard must make an effort to satisfy the needs of customers. How can he do that? By making sure that he gives the customers what they need. Produce quality products. Make sure that if they complain or if they have any suggestions about the product, then he makes sure that he implements or if he effects the changes that the customers are requiring from him as an entrepreneur. So that's what he must consider, that without customers, there's no business. So surely the end users of the product has to be satisfied, and satisfaction can be known through ongoing market research on what the customers are liking, research on customer preferences, customer taste as they change now and again. We are still on the factors that Howard should consider before starting up a business. Cost saving. Howard must cut costs by controlling unnecessary expenditures. So Howard should make sure that he cut costs by minimizing unnecessary expenses, keeping the expenses at a minimal level in order to make sure that he maximizes profit. Make sure that when he buys raw materials, he buys them in bulk so that he can get a discount. That would be a way of avoiding unnecessary expenditures. Hire temporary employees or use independent contractors to save cost. Another factor that he must consider is cost saving. He can save costs by doing what? By hiring temporary employees that are not going to be on his database for a long period of time. Those employees will only be paid for services that they have rendered for that particular time. So in that way, costs are being minimized because there are no permanent employees that Howard could employ or should be paying. Let's move on to number 2. It says, recommend other factors that Howard should consider before starting. It says other factors that Howard should consider before starting his business. He must consider an action plan to satisfy the needs of customers. So in the action plan that he has developed, he needs to make sure that customers are borne in mind that customers are the ones who support a business. So he needs to make sure that whatever product or service that he's going to offer in his business, he must make sure that customers are satisfied, because having happy customers, having satisfied customers, it simply means that more money is going to come into the business. You will have loyal customers who will continue to support you. The source of raw materials or suppliers. Another factor that he must consider is the source of raw materials or suppliers. Where is he going to get the raw materials? Who are going to be suppliers of the business? How are suppliers going to supply the raw materials in the business? Are they people who are reliable? Are they reputable? Do they give discounts? Those are the things that he needs to consider when he thinks of suppliers. The sources of funding that the business would use. Before starting a business, Howard should also think of the source of funding. Where is he going to get the money to start a business? Is he going to use his own capital? Is he going to use venture capital? Is he going to use loans borrowed from financial institutions? He needs to consider all those factors about funding. The form of ownership that will be used by the business. Another factor that he must consider is the form of ownership. That is this particular business that he wants to start to be his business alone, looking at the sole trader, or is it going to be a partnership? Is it going to be a private company, a public company, or a state-owned company, or cooperative? So those are the factors that Howard should consider before starting a business. Now let us just go for a breather and we will be back soon.